the second entrepreneurship mastermind. Last time we talked about, we kind of went over what everyone's business idea was. They gave kind of like an elevator pitch. And since Silas and Catherine, you weren't there, do you want to give us your own?
Sure. I can go, I guess. If you don't want to, Catherine, I can get it warmed up.
Please.
So this is, I don't know. I didn't really prepare anything, to be honest. I didn't realize we would talk about our businesses. I was just going to show up and hopefully help other people. But
well, I wanted to throw you on the spot. That's the idea.
I love being thrown on the spot. I do it for a living. Anyways, no, I would say there's a couple ideas that I have for businesses. I think that one of the more passionate ones one of the ones I'm more passionate about doing in the future would be starting a clean tech accelerator. So I work in the renewable energy space currently as a recruiter, and I get a lot of exposure I will be working more in the clean tech space as years go on here, but I get a lot of exposure to kind of everything in the market and all the issues people face. And ultimately I want to start my own accelerator someday to help create these new clean tech startups that can help clean up the environment and then just solve the issues that are faced. So I don't obviously plan on doing this at the immediate start right now, but I think the path that I plan to take, or that I'm kind of envisioning in my head, would be after I'm done with this job for, I don't know, probably at least 5 years of understanding it and really getting exposure to the space, then I plan to go and start either work for a clean tech startup or build my own. And then from there, make an exit and then go start an accelerator to help other people do that. So that's my very long elevator pitch. That's not really a pitch necessarily, but more kind of a pipe dream.
I like it. That's really cool. And I like how you are going to use your experience now. You're going to learn everything you can, soak in all the information, and then apply it to your ideas in the future.
Yeah, that's the goal. And it's also really, really convenient to be able to build a network, because I talk to probably 20 to 30 new people every week. And I get to just meet a lot of people in the industry. And if I do a good job, I can keep a kind of a Rolodex going of the people that might be useful in the future. And yes, I use
dated term. Gen Zers, I'm supposed to know what that is.
Anybody listening who doesn't know what a Rolodex is, it's basically your contact list.
Okay, good. Thank you for explaining. I was wondering.
Oh, you were. I didn't realize.
And it's like a little card, like file thing.
It's on your desk, and it just like has business cards in it, basically.
Yeah.
Flip. I just I figure everybody knows that. Just because you're Gen Z, there's no reason you shouldn't know what a Rolodex is.
Oh, that's funny.
How about you, Catherine?
Oh, goodness. So I guess the first thing that comes to mind is that I'm actually trying to figure out if I can start like my own kind of like creative business, so to speak. So my last name's Glatter, so I want to potentially start something called Glatter Creative. I know I'm very creative, but still gets the point across. Just doing branding for businesses, writing, social media, potentially other things that go along with that. Maybe starting a podcast to go with it. Who knows? But I'm sick of looking for a job. Maybe I'll get something full-time, but never hurts to have a side gig. And yeah, that's what we're at about now.
Did you see the post that Abigail Kish put out on looking for people to be on her podcast?
No, which channel was that?
So she put it out for people who had been in NCFCA. Have you heard of that?
Nope.
It's a Christian speech and debate group for high school students, but I think she was looking for people outside of that group as well. She would be a really great connection if you'd like. She started her own company. She now works at a company where she coaches debate. So sounds like someone that you could probably connect with, and it would be great.
Yeah, what was the name again?
Abigail Kish. I'll send you her information at the end of the call. I'll just send you her name and stuff. Yeah, definitely connect you there.
Thank you.
Catherine, what are some things that you would Like what skill sets do you currently possess that you think that you could easily hone a little bit, and then to start making a little bit of dough and start the business?
I guess it more centers on like, golly, what I've already done for certain businesses that I've worked for, whether in my internships back in college or when I worked at a small school, and then also like grabbing a niche. So like my family knows a lot of family resorters in Minnesota, so I'm trying to figure out if I could potentially reach out to that as like a target market, because I visited those a lot. My family's been kind of on the marketing side of that before. It sounds like a weird connection, but there's potential, I think.
That makes sense. I think you got to start where the path of least resistance is, right? So what I would do is like whoever you feel a little bit comfortable with, I would almost, I guess if you're like, what service do you want to offer though is my question mainly. Like what's the core service that you'd first want to offer that you think you could do well?
I mean, I guess there's probably like three: writing, branding, and social media.
By branding, do you mean actual logo design, or do you mean just kind of putting together their social media, their online presence?
Yeah, making everything cohesive. So like color choices, imagery, and making one voice throughout all of like a brand's content and whatever like physical like material they might have as well.
Okay, that makes sense. So I guess what if you try to, okay, what I would do if I were to just try to get started a little bit is go to a few people that you don't really know that are kind of strangers, and then try to sell your services, because even though it's a little bit harder to sell, it's going to be a little bit different of a relationship than somebody you might know, right? Because when there's a referral, then there's a lot more riding on it, right? So it might be hard for somebody to refer you if you don't have hard work to show them that you can do it, right? So use that hard work from the first couple clients, and it can just be very basic stuff.
I'll admit I already do have a portfolio, as much as I appreciate that.
All right. So then from that point, if you already have the portfolio, then you can go find whatever market you think is easiest to break into, and then just go from that point. That's probably what I would do, is just start it and then just start marketing yourself around.
Fair enough.
I was actually talking to Lena Wong. Have you met her?
Yes. Oh, she's just a little after me in Praxis.
She's awesome. She interviewed me earlier this week. She's doing a study on young entrepreneurs, and it's for the company that she's working with. But she brought up a really good point that when you're first trying to sell your product, you need to choose a people group. You need to identify who your customers are, and you need to specify them so that you're not shooting over here and shooting over there. For example, I was talking to her about my studio that I want to start, and she suggested that I pick a people group, and we discussed it, and I've decided that I'm going to go with children and younger students, so middle school, high school age, teaching them communication, because they're more willing to learn those kind of things. Public speaking is scary. I mean, people would rather be dead than have to give a speech. So by identifying the people group that you want to go after, it will help you narrow down who you need to actually sell your product to, instead of grabbing this person from this group and that person from that group. And it'll also make your portfolio more clean. You'll be able to say, I worked with students from ages 12 to 17 doing A, B, and C, instead of saying, I helped this person over here do this, and I helped that person do this, from all different areas.
Gotcha. Pulling out a specific demographic.
Absolutely.
That makes sense.
So you want to work for companies, correct?
I mean, you say that, but I mean, okay, I've not fleshed this out well enough clearly, so
That's why we have Mastermind.
Answer, but I appreciate it. I literally saw the invite link to this about 2 minutes before I clicked it, if I'm being very honest.
We're just here to bounce ideas off of each other. It's a safe zone.
Oh dear.
I'm trying to find. I have actually a running list of ideas. Maybe I can find some on there.
Oh, you and Jay Daniel.
Yeah. I'm not as organized as Jay Daniel. Trust me that.
I want to see Jay Daniel's sock drawer. I'm sure it's fantastically organized. He is so awesome. He got on the call last week. He was only able to be on the first part of it, and then he hopped off. But I threw the same question out to him. I was like, okay, give me your elevator pitch. And he was like, well, I haven't really thought about it, but, and then he gave this detailed, in-depth, perfect elevator pitch plan. And I was like,
Praxians. Oh, what a breed we are.
So with both of those ideas shared, and I love both of them, they're great original ideas. Something that I've personally been asking myself lately with my own company is, how do you test your ideas out? Trying to remember the book it was. It may have been The War on Art. I'm not sure, but I'm going to say it's that for now because I love that book so much. The author was talking about how when you have your idea, you need to test it on something smaller. I think he used the example of, if you want to write a novel, write a condensed like child's version of it first, and then build on that and build on that. And that's what you can do with all kinds of projects, including companies. So how have you guys been able to test your ideas to grow them?
Wow, that is, I'm going to defer to Catherine first.
The first thing I thought of was doing it for myself, which is kind of basically what every Praxian does, but I feel like still like it's been like 2 years since I built my website for Praxis. So I've definitely had to build it out since and figure out how like all the different social channels I've tried and like how all the content I made fits together. And I made myself like a portfolio that fits in with that as a way of communicating my brand, which I know that's a way like overused term, but it's valuable. And then like trying to pull out, okay, this is what I want for Glider Creative. What did I do for the school that matched this? What did I do for the camp I interned at that matched this? And like, how did I execute it in that situation? So obviously it was before I thought of any of this, but like there's still like that knowledge transfer, I feel like.
I think that's perfect. Yeah, that's exactly what I'm doing right now. I've started a blog and a podcast, and I'm teaching public speaking to young homeschool students. And I feel like right now what I'm doing is making the pillars that I'll someday put my company on top of. It's kind of like all my reference points. Someday I'm going to be able to stand in front of someone and say, you should pay me to teach you how to communicate because I've done it in the past. So it sounds like you're doing exactly that with the experiences that you've already had.
Thanks. I appreciate that validation, I guess that would be called.
In other words, you're doing awesome. With your website, I had a question. So how often do you update your website, since you said that you did it about 2 years ago?
Well, that's just when I built the original, like making it like Praxis worthy. And I did the blog for 365 days. I'm rewriting all my copy right now for potentially transferring it to Glider Creative. I'm in the middle of all that, I'll admit. So
wow, you went the 365 days. Kudos to you.
Thank you. Proud of that.
Silas, you're doing one every day, right?
No, I was. I did it for like 46 days. What I did was I set out to do it every day. And
most of his life. I remember this conversation.
What happened was I got to a point where I started like, I prioritized my blog, and then I started doing a podcast daily too, like a short podcast daily. And I started prioritizing that over my family, like my siblings and stuff. And knowing that I was moving away, like I almost missed my brother's birthday. So I was like, I need to stop doing this because this is not healthy. Like as great as this is for me, it's selfish. So I said, I'm going to stop. And to a degree, I've fallen too far away from it. I did a newsletter for the beginning half of the year or beginning quarter of the year, a weekly newsletter, but I'm hoping to get back on that soon. But if you wanted to go, I think I have some ways that I'm doing and practicing for my future business. I would say that the principle essentially of the accelerator would be, so obviously aside from connecting individuals with ideas, with capital, and then being kind of the mediator that helps make sure that their business idea is good and that they succeed. I think, so obviously that's the main point, is helping them succeed. The capital part, I'm just going to put that aside for now because that doesn't really fit into the picture this time, is raising capital. But what I am learning is from a consultant as a consultant, working with people to help them get the right talent for their company, I get exposure to a lot of things. While some people might simplify it to just recruiting people, there's a lot more that goes into it. It's understanding kind of the nuances of how their team is, and then advising them on the strategy on how to acquire these, get these candidates in, and how to manage that process, but also making sure it's the right fit from the standpoint. So I would say that I've just been able to, in the very short few months that I've been here, kind of gain an understanding of how we're offering more than just recruitment services, right? We're trying to really connect people and then provide value in more than one way, right? By showing them, hey, your process, we obviously are having dropouts here. The process is an issue. So even though I'm not helping people build businesses completely, I mean, helping them grow, obviously, but I'm able to help consult a client, somebody who's more successful than me, but in a different way. I'm able to help consult them in how to improve their process in order to succeed at this area of business. So those skills, I believe, will be transferable to consulting with individuals who are trying to grow their business.
Very cool. What is it like to be a recruiter?
That's a very loaded question. What part of it?
Well, I don't know. I think it would be a really cool job. I know very little about it, but just finding different people for different companies. Do you work with multiple different companies, or are you a recruiter for one company?
No, so we're a third party, so we work with multiple companies. And what it really comes down to is in the most simple, and I'm actually going to finish it tomorrow, a blog post for the first time in a few months, or a few weeks. I'm summarizing it, but if it's in its very simplest form, we get a client on. That's not just that easy. It's very hard to get a client on. But we get a client on. We really go through the details of the job, what they're going to have to do, the person, what the team is like, and really understand not just the technical skills, but also the soft skills they're going to need, and like what kind of person is going to fit into the team. Because even if they might have the desired technical skills and the desired soft skills, if their team is a team of hustlers and this guy's just a smoozer who doesn't like to hustle, but he's got all those skills, he's not going to be the right fit. So we really understand the job and the role and everything about it. And then we go out and we basically find companies that are very similar to that one, or that will have the same skill sets. Typically we go like for like. So if it's a solar developer, we'll go to other solar developers that do the same scale. And then we'll search the whole market for those same people, and then we qualify them on the phone, and then we get, after like going through probably 100 people and talking to about 50-ish, it depends, like 25 and 50 of them, we'll maybe have 5 to 10 to send to the company, sometimes less, sometimes fewer, and then we send them, and then we manage the process, and then we essentially help the company to discover if that's actually what they want, and help the candidate make sure that that's what they want, and then close the gaps between salary expectations, and then ultimately make a placement. And then we get paid a fee based off of their base salary.
Recently, I've been looking into new job opportunities, and one thing that I found really interesting is a lot of these applications require you to take different personality tests.
Oh my gosh, yes, it's ridiculous.
And I find it really interesting because every personality test I take, I get something different, and I'm like a totally different person in each one. So I don't know how these are actually helping.
I don't know. We don't have that. I guess instead of having people take personality tests, we just test them ourselves, right? Because we try to have as much exposure to the candidate, to the client as possible and everything. So we try to do a very thorough job so people don't drop out. But I think that could be helpful, having the personality tests, if that company has had a majority of their employees like based off of that personality test. So even though it might be different out, which personality test you might take might be different, as long as it's uniform within that company, then it should all be standardized. And I think that it might give the HR an idea. But I won't go into what I think about HR because I'm a recruiter.
So Catherine, your response to personality test, I'd like to ask you a few questions, because it seems like there's three groups of people with personality tests. There's the people who swear by them, there's the people who think they're hoax, and then there's people who really don't know anything about them.
I just meant in like reference to job apps where it's like in the first round of like any contact that's like, oh hey, we're interested, please take this hour-long test for us that will give you no actual results unless we decide to reach back out. So it's like, it's purely for them. Like, I don't even get anything out of it until you like me, and that seems a little bit extreme, but I may have just been bugged by one yesterday, so that's probably why.
But you're not wrong.
I feel your pain.
It is, Catherine, it is completely ridiculous. But at the same time, like, as a recruiter, like, this is me stepping in because I can save the day right now, because it's like, this is why we exist, because people post job ads and like they get 100. This is what Isaac talks about all the time. They get 100 applications, and of those 100 applications, maybe 2 or 3 of them are actually suitable for the job. So they try to like basically find ways to funnel it down and make it a little easy for them.
Yeah.
And it's not
see the results.
At least in my opinion, it's not effective. It can be. I've met some really good internal headhunters. They work for one company internally, and like they're
like Toggle or something where Nick Rundlet works.
Toggle's a headhunting firm?
What?
Wait, Toggle's a headhunting firm?
No. In terms of recruiting, y'all need Toggle. They're all about like qualification or like what you can actually do, kind of like Praxis over resumes.
Oh, really? I thought, okay.
Yeah. Look at Nick Rundlet's stuff. He's in sales there.
I thought Toggle just tracked your time that you use, but maybe it's more than that.
Not what TOGGL. That's, yeah, I tried applying there once. That was interesting.
Yeah, everybody has their own approach to it, but it's an interesting thing, I guess. But
I took one personality test at a application a couple weeks ago, and I went on and it said, okay, we're going to have you do a video game. You have 3 minutes to finish this video game. Don't worry about winning. We're only judging you on how you play it. And then I was like, oh, shoot. So it was easier for me to think, okay, I got to win this, as opposed to they're judging every single move I make. So what I had to do was I had to take lines and stack them on top of each other to get to the moon at the top of the screen. But the thing is, the lines kept like falling over and my building kept crashing. Like,
done that.
It was terrible. It was like 3 minutes of absolute torture. And I was going crazy, just like throwing as many lines. No wonder they didn't get back with me, because I like built the Eiffel Tower and it crushed my person. And then I built it back up. I ended up making like 5 towers in this 3 minutes.
Oh my gosh, that sounds so similar to one I did. I'm glad I'm not the, okay.
How does this judge me? I just don't know how to play video games.
I don't know. To me, that just sounds ridiculous. Like, maybe for fun, but on a Saturday afternoon. But no, not for a job application. But.
Not for a job at all. Yeah, after that, I was pretty sure I didn't want to work for the company.
Oh, okay.
I'm like, if this is how stressful it is just to apply, I don't want to work for you.
So, what else are you doing, Payton, to work on your project? Because you told me a little bit about it before the call started here. Could you tell me more? I'd be curious to know what your goal and plan is here.
Yeah. So, in short, what I want to do is start a communication studio where I help people share their passions with the world through public speaking, podcasting, writing, music, art, all forms of communication. I want to start an actual physical studio where you come in and it's a creative atmosphere. So have either one of you heard of Painting with a Twist?
No.
Yeah, isn't that like those paint parties?
Yeah, so you go in and you get to bring alcohol and you paint a picture. Now, I
Just
don't
one
drink.
as everyone else. Yeah.
I don't drink myself, but I've gone to a couple of these and I love the idea behind it. You come in and everybody has the same complaint at the beginning of the class. Non-fail every single time. Everyone says, I can't paint. That's what everybody says. Yet at the end of the class, everyone walks away with a masterpiece that they're actually really proud of. And it's because they go into an atmosphere that takes away that creative block, that I can't do this, because they say, you don't have to do it. You just have to have fun. That's what we're doing here. I want to create an atmosphere like that takes away that mental block and says, you're here to create. You get to explore, you get to try things. You can start a podcast without having to buy all of the equipment and putting in the time to, set aside an area in your house and do all that, because we have a studio right here for you to do that. If you don't like doing that, you can come over and try writing. If you don't like doing that, music might be your thing. Or why don't you try painting a picture? Just all these different forms of communication. The idea is you have something you're passionate about, and it's not so much about how you share it with the world, it's simply that you actually go about sharing it. So how I'm doing that, how I'm planning on doing that is I want to start a homeschool co-op group kind of, where the first week of every month I teach writing. The second week I teach public speaking. The third week I bring in some form of art. So I'll teach painting, leather craft, sewing, something like that. And then the last week I have an open class where you get to come in and whatever you're working on, whatever you want to share, we're going to just like mastermind it. Every 3 months, I'm going to have what's called homeschool presentation night. And you have to bring something that you've been working on in one of those classes, and you actually have to present it to your audience. It could be a painting, it could be a speech, whatever it is. I want to get these kids in front of an audience when they're young enough that they don't have that fear built into them.
It's actually quite interesting. So are you going to try to help them just learn how to do these things? Or are you like, say, for example, let's just put it in the context because it's easier for me to understand, of say they come in and they're just exploring the different studios, but they find out that they really like podcasts. Okay. Are you going to not only help them to learn how to communicate, but also to like have the resources to set up their podcast? Like, because it is super easy. I did it with literally all the things that come with my Mac. I literally just use my Mac, right?
Hey, fun.
Yeah.
I got a speaker and that was it.
That's
Oh,
even
fancy.
No.
going to then guide them through setting it up and then launching the podcast and then managing it? Or is it just mainly to teach them how to communicate what they want and then help them to realize that the obstacles in front of them for those various avenues aren't that hard?
I want to help them take it all the way. Once they find what they're really passionate about and how they want to share it, I want to have different avenues, be connected with different companies or different connections in order to help them spread their wings and fly. So if they want to do podcasting, I'll have people who I can kind of, I guess, hand them off to or connect them to, saying, hey, this is a great connection for you. If you want to do art, this is a great connection for you. I won't necessarily be the one watching over their project from beginning to finish, but I will get them along their way.
So will it, are you planning to scale it at some point?
Repeat that again, sorry.
Would you want to scale it at some point?
I don't know. I've thought about having this be a franchise. And so what I do is I create the studio, and then if you over in New York want to have a Share It studio, then I give you all the information, kind of like Chick-fil-A, or Painting with a Twist is also a franchise. I give you all the information and you start it. I don't want to be the person over all of these companies, but if this is something that can help other people, other places, I'll definitely help people do that. Right now, I want to be impacting a community more than nation or worldwide.
Okay, that makes sense. So what I would say is, I guess it really depends on, like, my thought here is just, and I'm just spewing obviously, is my thought is you need to have some decision up front what your goal is, whether you want to make it large or not so large, because either way, you're going to be happy doing what you're doing, it sounds like, right? Well, maybe you wouldn't. Maybe you wouldn't be happy if it was too big and it was stressful. But my point is, if you think about that up front, there's going to be a few different steps you're going to take to ensure scalability in the end, because getting something going is tough, but changing it once it's going can be even tougher depending on how things have gone in the beginning, right? So kind of having some kind of goal with how you might scale it would really help you to then go and get funding at some point.
Absolutely. Yeah, definitely having a game plan is something I've been working on. For example, starting the podcast and the blog was step one, and then creating my curriculum for teaching these co-ops. I need to come up with a different word for it because I don't exactly want to be a co-op, but a homeschool group.
It's not a terrible idea, though.
What?
But it's not a terrible idea at all, because creating a community is like the best way to create a successful business, because you create a community of people. Look at Praxis. People come here literally for the community. I came here mainly because I was like, I'm going to meet cool people. I didn't really necessarily believe anything that Praxis was going to teach me anything great. I was like, I'm going to meet cool people. And that's why I joined Praxis. So you're going to create, I mean, here we are, right?
Oh, Silas.
But community is like that. And I think that my
Oh, sorry.
no worries. One of my thoughts initially was you're going to close yourself out by saying it's a homeschool group, but that's not at all true. You're just going to get a start and a foothold. And from there, and plus, I mean, let's be honest, like a lot of, I don't know how it is in Detroit completely, or at least in that area, but public school mentality is less, like they wouldn't lean towards that necessarily in most cases.
Oh, yeah, homeschooling is huge there. Like just this small little suburb that I was in, there's over 300 homeschool students.
Yeah. Catherine, are you there? We can't hear you.
Every dang time. Every time. In Detroit was the question?
Yeah.
Wow. Okay.
Well, near Detroit. I'd rather kind of stay away from Detroit. Silas is awesome that he can live in a big city. I'd rather live in the outer suburbs.
Okay, Detroit and New York are two very, very, very different things.
They're not. I mean, okay, they're very different. I won't insult New York by saying that it's the same, but Detroit has a very interesting vibe that I think is quite similar in some regards to New York. Like, I think also Minneapolis is similar to New York in some regards. But
And probably to Detroit, it probably is in the middle. Because, like, property values, if nothing else, New York to Detroit, like, if that doesn't say difference, I don't know what does.
well, I mean, downtown Detroit is up and coming quite a bit, but no, I get what you're saying. Have you been to Detroit even?
No, I've just heard enough.
Don't knock it till you try it.
And I also Realtor.com did more than I care to admit, out of curiosity and wondering how many I could own.
So an interesting question I have, Silas. I was talking to some people who live over near Detroit, and they were saying that something that's common in both Detroit and New York is different backgrounds. For example, people coming from different countries usually go to New York or Detroit because, or at least they used to, because that's the big boom cities, you know, especially in Detroit, they had the vehicles. I mean, that's huge. Michigan is all about different vehicles. There, so many companies are just focused on building one vehicle part. And do you find that to be the same in New York? Like, are there different dynamic groups?
Oh, absolutely. Like, it's not a question about New York. It's a matter of, is it actually true in Detroit, which I actually found interesting because there is, like, in Detroit's heyday, like they were growing like crazy, and people, and it was like a huge hub. Like it rivaled to some extent New York because it was huge, right? It was a very prominent city, and I think it's going to be a prominent city again. I mean, it's never really lost its prominence, but there are so many startups starting in Detroit and moving to Detroit because they have really inexpensive real estate.
Yeah.
They have very creative people. When I was there in December, I was there like the week before Christmas, I think, for an interview actually. And I went to this one meetup. It was a collider. It was called Ultimetric Collider. I met the Jacob Smith, I think his last name is Smith, over there. And I talked to all these different people at this thing. It was like a coding meetup. It was some kind of fundraiser, but it was fun. And every single person, no matter where they worked, either they or their wife or husband had their own side hustle.
Yes.
It was insane. Literally everyone.
I'm so happy I'm not the only one.
MLM. That's better than Minneapolis.
I've lived so many different places, and I have never seen so many people with so many startups. I mean, I went to this really nice family's house this last weekend, and I stayed with them over near Detroit. And they asked what I was doing, and I kind of dread telling people my business idea. I'm like, oh, I'm trying to start my own company, because usually people look at you like you're an idiot. These people didn't. They're like, oh yeah, my uncle started a company. And in fact, the wife was talking to me, and she's like, you want to start a communication studio? I want to start an art studio. Why don't we just do it together? And so like, we're going in as business partners now. I have never seen so many people starting their own companies.
All in Detroit?
Yeah, that's why I say Detroit is awesome, because it's got like this fresh blood to it. Like it's just so fresh. Everybody is just like hustling. And there's this saying in Detroit that it's Detroit hustles harder. It is very true. Very true. And the other thing that's really cool about Detroit is you can literally wear whatever you want. It's your style, and nobody will judge you at all. It's even like more than New York, I would say, as far as like fashion is concerned. Like you can your style is whatever you want it to be, and literally everybody's okay with that.
That's awesome, because I go a bit retro, and I get looked at. When I lived in Texas, whenever I'd wear my pearls or my Rosie Riveter headband, people would look at me like I was something weird. And you're right. There's so many different, I think it might be because there's so many different culture groups. For example, I stayed with a family who's first generation Americans from Italy, and their little community is all Italians, and they've all moved from Italy in the last 100 years or less. It's really cool, just all these different backgrounds.
It is exciting.
Touche, Detroit fans. I don't know if I could live there, but I have an appreciation now.
We've opened your horizons.
Detroit also has good pizza. Not as good as New York, but it's still good.
Did you just bypass Chicago on the way? Or?
Pizza, ew.
Okay, don't go to LA, from what I hear.
I've actually never been to Chicago. I'll have to come visit sometime.
Are you close to it?
Yeah, I'm really close. I'm like 45 minutes away.
That's like a jog in Minnesota.
Yeah, I am practically in Indiana. Like I'm 15 minutes away from Indiana.
Yeah, I didn't realize. Were you there back in like a month ago? Because I was in Chicago a month ago.
Yeah, I was there a month ago. Around Christmas time, you invited me to a swing dance thing, but it was
right. Swing dancers. Yes. I'm so proud of you, Silas.
It was like November or something, but yeah.
Oh my gosh. I'm coming.
Yeah, I wanted to go, but we were it was in January, because we were right in the middle of our maple syrup, and I was like, there's no way I can get away. But yeah.
You're a swing dancer though, right?
I am. Oh, I live to swing dance.
So I think that has been decided. Any Praxians listening who missed this,
Yes.
We decided that we're going to have a swing dance meetup. Is that what Christian said?
Yes, that was discussed at the last FeeCon. It's like, yes, it's a thing. It was at TosCon. Like tons of Praxians have learned it. Yeah. It's me.
I will be there. I need to teach my boyfriend how to swing dance, so this will be the perfect excuse.
Mine's been learning.
Good. I'm so happy because there's so few guys who know how to swing dance. There's so few. So I take every opportunity I can.
The proud Silas. We're proud of you.
You are one of the few, Silas.
Thank you. I'm just trying to find out what the official decision was here because I can't find the thread.
About swing dancing for Praxians?
Yeah.
We just need to start like a Slack channel, to be really honest.
No, there's too many Slack channels already. I can't keep
like 4. What are you people popular in?
Guys, there are. I'm in. I shouldn't be in these ones because I'm not in the apprenticeship anymore. But the ones that I'm still in.
Okay, sounds like a you problem, but whatever.
13 channels.
Oh wow, I'm only in like 5.
Same, Mr. Popular over here.
I just joined all the channels. Like, why not, right?
Well, because there's too many now. To quote you 2 minutes ago.
I should probably drop out of some of them because I never participate in most of them. But anyways.
Oh my gosh, Silas.
I still like to meet people. That's like the whole reason. Again, reason I joined Praxis was to meet interesting people.
Yes.
It will be like business partner Sundays. Like I'm constantly seeing who's new in Praxis. Like. Who haven't I met yet, which the number is like crazy how many people are joining Praxis lately. You guys ever catch that? It seems like there's just people joining left and right. It's like,
how many are accepting a month now?
I don't know, but there's a lot.
Because there were 2 of us in my module, so.
There was like 8 in ours.
No, there was more than 8. Initially there was 14 and I think 2 or 3 dropped out.
Yeah, a couple of them dropped out. Yeah, and you didn't stay in because you found your own.
I went through the program really quickly because I did 3 months, and then I went right into placement, and then that took me a month and a half, and then I was like, hey Cameron, I'm actually just gonna keep doing my current job and call it my apprenticeship, and he's like, and I explained to him why, and he's like, oh, okay, sounds good. So I started my apprenticeship in the 5th month. I think it would have been the 5th.
Wow. Okay.
Yeah, overachiever over here. Like, had to make all of us look bad.
Honestly, I don't consider myself an overachiever. I feel like I cheated the system, to be honest. And then I only did my apprenticeship for 2 weeks officially, and then went into this job, which was the end of my apprenticeship. So I did Praxis in 7 months.
Okay, I was a bit confused because you posted that you were going to stay with the company you were working with. And then like 2 weeks later, you took pictures of, I'm going on an interview, da-da-da. And I was like,
I'm in New York.
What? Yeah, and then you were like, I'm in New York. I was like, okay, I'm just lost.
Yeah, it's been a crazy journey, but.
Probably just all of the like Wisconsin, Minnesota kids have been to New York except me and Hope.
Well, there's like 4 of us here now, 4 or 5 of us.
Wait, you, Dana, Kyle.
Heather.
There's another Minnesotan kid?
She's a little bit further north. No, she's not from Minnesota.
No.
Where's Heather from?
Ooh.
She's in our group.
Yeah. I want to say North Dakota, and I don't know why that's coming in my head, because I don't think that's right at all.
That's way up north there.
But I think she's from somewhere out east, because I remember, I'm pretty sure her parents drove her to New York. So she's got to be somewhere out here. I don't remember where, but point is we got Heather, so that's 4. And then actually, by the way, I wouldn't count Dana because I don't think she's coming back based off my last exchange with her. But
she was a Praxis New Yorker from Minnesota.
Quinn, don't forget Quinn. And then Chuck Grimmett is upstate. He's not quite in New York City, but
I was only counting Minnesota people and Wisconsin.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
I was counting all New York people. Come on.
Nah.
Again, overachieving. Had to just put everybody in. I am noticing now that I've graduated from the Praxis program that there are less channels that I have to be involved in, which is really nice. I get to kind of pick who I work with. It's no longer a requirement, so it's a bit more fun. I'm enjoying it a lot.
I would tend to agree with that. Except they kicked me out for a little bit because there was a time when you graduated and then you left the Slack and were only in the workplace. That was a sad time. But now we're back.
Something weird happened when I officially graduated. I was logged out of the Slack for like 24 hours, and I kept trying to get in. I was freaking out. Then the next morning I tried to get in, all was good. So
now it's just open, and now we got both workplace and Slack. So there you go.
Yep. And then whatever channels we decide to create or join.
Swing Dance Club.
If you started, I will join
fight it, Silas.
I'll join it, but I'm just gonna kind of be in the shadows.
That's okay. I didn't say I'd be particularly vocal myself, but we need a presence so people see that there's a genuine gusto for it.
It needs to be more than just a bunch of girls. We need some guys in there too.
Yeah, I have swing dancing.
You can get Carl, Christian Pauls, James Biller, and who are the other ones at TossCon and FeeCon? I don't even know. I'm sure we could potentially convince Jed Marley, but that would be a stretch.
I think. But anyways, I just wanted to, I have to get going here pretty soon. Did you want to close up anything, Payton? Are we supposed to like do anything as far as?
We kind of drifted.
Yeah, I was just about to say we need to wrap this up. The only last question I had was, what action do you guys want to take to execute your idea, your business, your goal that we can talk about for the next call? So homework. What homework are you going to assign yourself?
I would say that it's very difficult for me. I would, if anything, my homework would be to assign myself what my homework would be essentially, right? Because my timeline here for starting my business is minimum 5 years from now, right? Maybe 4.5, right? But I got a ways to go. So I think that I have a bit of time to think about it. So I'll try to put together some kind of bullet points of like things that I should do in order to get closer to that goal.
Making goals for goals is great.
Big goals. Gotta take time to make those big goals with tiny goals.
Definitely. How about you, Catherine?
My current thought is to make sure I do something for it daily. If that's taking a photo, if that's writing like 3 sentences towards a blog post, just getting something so that I'm not just sitting here at home. Like, yes. I know that's very minimal, but I don't know where else to like draw a line there.
No, that's perfect. Daily little steps is how we get somewhere big. For example, it's better for you to work out a little bit every single day than work out really hard once a week. So, yeah, for me, I'm going to work on building the curriculum so that when I get moved over near Detroit, I can actually start the co-op as soon as possible. So yeah, working on that is what I'm putting my time into at this moment. All right.
All right. Well, until next time, is it 2 weeks from now?
2 weeks. Yep, we're going to do this every 2 weeks. So will post this video soon in the Slack channel, and I will see you guys in 2 weeks.
All right. Cheers.
Well, thanks for joining. See you guys.
Bye.